Today I'm going to be telling a story about when I was 14 and I was involved in a shooting. I'll do the what happened before, during, and after, and give all the gory details and what happened in the aftermath, how everything unfolded. So, like I said, I was 14 when this happened. It's my eighth grade year, my first eighth grade. I ended up doing eighth grade again, obviously after this year. Um, I remember it was in April. I want to say April 18th or something is when the shooting happened. But in January, or the end of December, rather, my stepdad died in a car accident. So uh, my whole family was still getting over that. And I was just starting to like smoke weed and hang out with the wrong crowd and do some things. And on this day, I was supposed to be in detention actually. And the guy's house where the shooting happened, he wasn't supposed to have friends over while his parents weren't home, and they didn't get home till 5:30, something like that. And the person I actually shot was supposed to be at basketball practice, and he skipped out. So none of us were even supposed to, be doing what we was doing. But the guy's house we were at, where the shooting took place, they had just moved in. Our house was a wreck. There was clothes everywhere, boxes everywhere, things everywhere. Go away, go. And his parents smoked weed and they had some bongs and stuff. They had this Grim Reaper bong that we had seen while they were moving, so we knew they had it. And so during school, we all kind of plotted together and was like, hey, we should go over to Joe's house. His parents aren't home. I'll skip detention. Dude will skip basketball practice, and we'll go over to his house and see if they got some weed in there or something. We could show these bongs off because at this point we ain't never seen bongs like that. So we all agreed we'd meet and go to Joe's, and after school, whatever, we all meet up and we head over to this house, and we walk in. I just remember, like, as soon as you walk in, there's like a upper dining room, and there's just a mountain of clothes. I was 14, so this mountain looked huge in comparison to how big I was. It was like a lot of clothes. You couldn't hardly get to the kitchen. So as soon as you come in the door to the right, there's steps that goes down, like 3 steps down to like a lower living area. And then if you go farther left, it's the master bedroom. So we went in there and as soon as you walk in, the bed's in front of you, and then there's a back door to go out in the backyard. To the left is a closet. I don't remember what's in that area. I think you can get up to the kitchen that way. I don't remember. I've only been in that house, I think, 2 or 3 times. But we walk in and we go to the closet. There's a safe in there, and the guy that lives there, he's like, yeah, this is where they keep everything. So we go in there, and dude's over here. The safe's unlocked or whatever, and he's pulling stuff out, and I'm sitting against the wall, and my buddy's standing in the doorway right here to my right, and we're looking at the bongs and stuff. And as I'm sitting against the wall, I notice over in the corner there's a rifle leaned up in the corner. And I'd seen his dad messing with it at the house they had before they moved over here. And he was telling me how he would shoot bowling balls with it and stuff, and it'd explode bowling balls. Like, it's a badass rifle, it'd kill an elephant and all this. It was a 303 British, I think 303 British bolt action rifle. So it was legit. It was a big ass bullet. They're huge bullets. And I don't know anything about guns at this point. At 14 years old, I've seen guns. most I know about guns is what I've seen in movies and stuff. So I reach over and I grab this gun, and I got it sitting in front of me, and I don't, like I said, I don't really know what I'm doing. So I like pulled the bolt up and slammed it back and looked down the barrel. Like I didn't see, there was no bullet in it. And I didn't know how a magazine worked. So when I pushed the bolt back forward, it had a bullet in the magazine. So it chambered around. And we're messing with the bongs and stuff, you know. I guess they had just cleaned them. There was no resin. We weren't going to be able to get high, nothing like that. So we're kind of like, all right, well, let's get out of here before, we get caught or whatever. So I'm holding this gun, and I was like, well, now I gotta pull. I know enough that I gotta pull the trigger to reset the gun so that they know we weren't in here messing with it. Well, I reached down, I pulled the trigger, and I don't remember hearing the gunshot, which is crazy because we were in a little closet. It was probably 4x8, 4x6, something like that. It was a little closet, so it was loud. It was loud enough that the entire neighborhood heard the gunshot. Several people called the police right away. But I remember the gun going off, the kick of it, the smell of the gunpowder. I remember all that, but I don't remember hearing it. That could be because as soon as I pulled the trigger, it immediately went into shock. I don't know. And my buddy that was standing in the doorway right there, because I had the gun facing like that, I just hear him scream, and he starts hopping. And I look over and I see on his kneecap, it looks like a little cut. It wasn't very big, and I thought I grazed him. We don't have to say anything, like we got lucky. And he spun away to like hop away, and then I seen the back of his knee. Everything behind his kneecap was gone. Like you could put a fist inside the back of his leg. So that entry, it was so close that it would look like just a little cut, but the exit completely, it annihilated his kneecap. And he spun around, and it wasn't even bleeding yet. It was like fresh meat. It was the weirdest looking thing. And then I'm standing there like still in shock. The guy who lived there, he hasn't said anything. I think he's still in shock. His ears probably ringing pretty good. And all of a sudden, his leg starts gushing blood. Uh, Obviously, took out the femoral artery, and he starts hopping, and blood is so, I can't even explain how much blood. It was like if somebody turned the sink on, and it was wide open. It's wide open. So me and the guy that lived there, we grab him up. Again, we're all 14 years old, don't really know what's going on. So uh, for some reason, we still don't know why, we grab him up. We're like, we got to get him out of the house. The house was a complete disaster everywhere. So he puts his arm over our shoulders, and we start hobbling him out and getting him upstairs. We get him out on the front porch, and he's laying on his back. And at this point, he's in a lot of pain, but he's in shock. So he's not crying. He's not making a whole lot of noise. He's just kind of asking if he's okay. And the guy that actually lives there, he's sorry, my computer died, but the guy that actually lives there, he had done some time in the Boy Scouts, so he kind of knew about stopping the bleeding and tourniquets and that kind of thing, whereas I didn't really know any of that. I've never seen anything like what just happened. Not even in the movies. I've never seen anything as gory. So we were all in shock, but he had enough sense about him to like, he grabbed a towel. There was plenty of clothes everywhere to grab, and what he ended up doing was stuffing like a towel inside of his leg. Because like I said, it was a gaping wound. It was huge, like baseball size hole in his leg. So he stuffed a towel in it and then put all his weight on it. Uh, the the guy that got shot was laying on his back on the porch, just kind of looking up, ghost white, not saying anything. And so he's laying on his back, looking up, not saying nothing. Every now and then he'll have some pain groans, and dude's got the towel on his leg, putting his weight on it, trying to slow this bleeding down. At this point, there's a puddle of blood around his waist that's 3 feet across. It's thick, really bright red blood. The sun's hitting it. It's the other guy's got blood all over him. I've got blood all over me. And then he says, "Go call the cops." So I shoot across the street. There's a house directly across the street right in front. It's a neighborhood. It's a dead end road. So I run over there, and I don't knock or nothing. I just run in the house, and there's a little old lady sitting on the couch, scared to death looking. This gun was loud, and it was right next door, so she thought somebody got shot or something. Obviously, I run in. I got blood all over me. I'm like, "Give me your phone." She's already holding her phone. I guess she just got done calling the cops herself. So I get the phone, dial 911. They're like, "Yo, whatever, what's your emergency?" I was like, I just shot my best friend. I need you to get here." And they're like, "What'd you shoot him with?" And I said, "A rifle, a bolt action rifle." And she was like, "All right, help's on the way." And so I throw the phone down, run back across the street. I start helping Joe, and I just sit beside Cody, or I just sit beside my friend, and I say, all I could say was, "I'm sorry." I said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry." I'm starting to get a little upset at this point. Like, things are starting to like sink in, and it's been probably 10 minutes up to this point. Then we're like 20 miles away from the nearest hospital, and we're out in the country in a town. There's only 300 people in this town at the time, so everybody knows everybody. Real small knit community, and of the first person on scene is a volunteer firefighter. He rolls up in his truck or whatever, gets out real casual, and starts walking up to the porch. Well, I come running down. He sees the blood all over me, and he was like, "Are you the one that shot?" And I was like, "No, he's on the porch." And he goes walking up there, and dude that lives there hops up, and he's like, "Hurry up and get up here." And he's got blood all over him because he's been directly dealing with this wound. And he was like, "Oh my goodness, are you the one that shot?" And he's like, "No, he's right here." And I remember the firefighter walking up there and looking down and seeing this mess and this kid that he looks like he's about to die any second. And he really is. I mean, he's lost a lot of blood. The blood in the house on the carpet from where we walked him out was so thick that when you walked on it through the house, it would squish underneath your shoes. It would literally squish out. It sounded like you were walking on wet carpet. This firefighter sees this scene, and he goes ghost white. He wasn't ready. And he immediately hops on the radio, and he was like, "We need life flight." This, and kind of goes over it like, "Hurry up. This is more than what we thought it was." They thought someone got shot with like a BB gun or something like that. So more people start rolling in, and it's all volunteers for a long time, it seems, but they know more about it than we do, so they kind of take over, and we kind of just step to the side. And about the time they got to where they don't need us around, that's when the police from the next town, the big town where the hospital's at, start showing up. And they start showing up in droves. I don't know how many cop cars were there, but probably 8 to 10. And then you got fire trucks, ambulances start rolling in, all the volunteers from the town. And at this point, now you start getting the crowd of the town. Lots of people start showing up, and they're right out in front of the house, probably 20 feet away from the porch, just grouping up, talking. A lot of crying going on out there. Everybody knows everybody, like I said. Everybody knew all three of us that were in this. And I kind of log off for a while, and then I have sort of a panic attack. I had asthma when I was young, and I'm the first one in the ambulance. They put me in the ambulance on oxygen. They get me kind of settled down a little bit, pull me out, and they pin me off to the side talking to this cop. And he starts asking me my story, and I start trying to explain to him what happened. Meanwhile, the cops are inside, shaking the place down, uh, cordoning stuff off. Like I said, it's a mess in there between them just moving. Now there's what a crime scene in there. Lots of blood, lots of blood, lots of evidence, I guess you could say. Um, but where like things came crashing down was when they went to move my buddy. His life flight had just landed right across the street. They went to put him on the gurney and take him over there, and he started screaming, screaming. Now it's starting to come to him, and he's starting to get his wits about him. And the mass of people out there hearing him scream. And just at that time, this cop walks out of the house holding the gun, wearing gloves. You know, it's, and like this whole situation's like starting to weigh on me now. I'm starting to kind of get my bearing back a little bit, and I see what's going on. And it dawns on me like, you just shot somebody. And about that time, my mom comes pulling up. And we lived like 10 miles away out in the country. We lived out in the middle of nowhere. And she comes running up saying, "Don't tell him nothing. Don't tell him nothing. Don't tell him anything." And I was like, "Mom, it's okay. It was an accident. You know, it's Cody. I didn't mean to do that." And she was like, "Well, don't say anything." So they end up pulling the bullet out of the wall. So from where we were at, the bullet went through him, through the bedroom wall, through the garage wall right next to the house, and I think it's stuck in the other wall. They recovered the bullet. They got the gun. They put me in the cop car, and they're gonna take me to juvenile hall in the next town over where all the cops come from. So my mom's gonna meet me down there, and I still can't believe what's going on. I guess my mom only knew about it because she was out working in the yard, and she was like, "I heard a bunch of police just from the main road." It was about a quarter mile away, but she's like, it was just cop, 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 cop. She's like, "Man, I wonder what's going on." And then she hears the phone ringing, and I guess somebody had called her and told her, "Hey, uh, there's been a shooting and your son's involved. You need to get here." And so she jetted out. Uh, my brother heard the same thing, but he heard that somebody had shot me to get down there. So the rumor mill in a small town is vicious. It's vicious, and it started immediately as soon as it went down. So now they see me get arrested and put in a cop car. You know, they see dude on the porch, other guy. Everybody's covered in blood. This whole scene just unfolded in front of them. So they take me down to juvie, and they sit me there. And like I said, these were my best friends at the time. And my mom's sitting there. I'm in. I mean, I'm a wreck. I don't know what else to tell you. You're 14 years old and you just shot somebody. You don't know how to process that shit. So I'm sitting there and they're grilling me. Where'd you get the gun? You know, what were you doing there? What this, that, blah, 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 blah. And so I'm 100% honest with them the whole time. I'm like, "Look, lady, this is what we were there for. This is what happened. This is how I did this. I pulled the trigger. I shot him. We realized it was bad. We got him outside. We homeboy tried to stop bleeding. I called the cops. Like, it was obvious that it wasn't malicious and that we were, you know, not really trying to cause no harm, but that doesn't negate the fact that, you know, he's now on his way in a helicopter to Kansas City to save his life. So they don't arrest me or do anything like that. They said it was pretty clear that it may be an accident, but they only have my story and the other guy's story because the victim obviously he can't talk. He's in a coma for a few weeks after this. So they said that uh, I can't like leave town or do anything like that, or if I go on vacation with my family or whatnot, I got to check in until they get his story. It ends up being like I think he spent like 3 months in ICU, had lots of surgeries, like top surgeons, knee surgeons working on him, and supposedly they lost pulse in the life flight. It was a bad and drawn out deal. I think now he's had like 30 surgeries or something. He still has his leg, but they don't plan on him keeping it his whole life. That's the last I've heard. But so I did not get arrested and I did not go to jail. Um, Really, I don't think that the police ever went and got his story, even after he got out of ICU. Excuse me. I think they had enough to go on that it was just an accident, but you know, I'm pretty fortunate in the fact that even though it was an accident, you know, it's still illegal to shoot somebody. You know what I mean? It's illegal to almost kill somebody for sure, and really nothing legally came from that. I paid for it in other ways for sure. Um, After this was rough because the guy was really popular. I mean, in a town of 300 people, it's not hard to be popular, I guess. Everybody knows everybody, but he was a good dude, man. He was a like a sports star. He actually played for like better teams. He never played for like the school's teams, and all that was done. And I was out of school for about a week, and I remember just hearing things like people saying I shot him on purpose or that I was aiming it at his head and the other guy smacked the gun down just as I pulled the trigger and shot it. Like I was hearing everything, but I couldn't really defend myself because I wasn't, you know, at school. You know, it was traumatic, so I stayed home. But I did go back, and then they put me in a classroom all by myself for I think the first week or so because they were afraid to put me back in normal class because they had heard a lot of stuff. And I remember they put me in the old part of the building. I literally was in there by myself. I think it was the ISS room or something. It used to be or something. I don't know. And then they were like, "We're gonna have the police escort you home for a while." And I told them I was like, "Nah, that ain't. I live right here, and for what? You know, like somebody's gonna beat me up. Like I don't feel bad enough. I'll take it. You know." Nothing ever happened like that, but people did hear some stuff, and it changed some opinions about me with some people. And I remember like my first day back at school, walking down the hallway because, like I said, there's 300 people in this town. I think my class had 12 people in it. Uh, and everybody would just stare at me, not like stop talking. They're having a conversation, just stop and stare. Like everybody was afraid to be the first one to say something to me, or it was weird. It was very, very weird. And I remember just walking down the hallway feeling like, oh, it was awful. And I seen the kid's brother was one of the first people I remember talking to. And I see him and I walk up to him and I was like, I'm sorry, dude, it was an accident. I'm sorry, it was an accident. And he was like, I know, man. He's like, I know. I know you didn't do that on purpose. I know it was an accident. You know, he's going to be okay. I think he's still in a coma at this point. Maybe just got out of a coma, but he was in bad shape. And I heard a lot of rumors and I tried to dismiss as many as I could or whatever, but then I was like, I'm not gonna fight for that. So let them think what they're gonna think. They're gonna do it anyway. And this started a real downhill slide in my life. As far as I got depressed, started drinking and smoking weed and doing other drugs and doing a lot of crazy things just because right before this I lost my stepdad when he was the main authority figure in my house. You didn't do anything too bad when he was around. He'll snatch your ass up. So now he's gone. My mom and my sister, that was her real dad. They're dealing with this. She lost her dad, and then you got the shooting thing hanging over our family's head. Everybody's got an opinion. Uh, Other kids, parents wouldn't let him be around me. He's bad news, all this. And I mean, it was bad. But I mean, it was truly an accident. I didn't mean to do that. And I remember after this, like once, he got out of the hospital and stuff, was, making his recovery. He's on crutches for a long time, several years. His leg's never been the same. There's bullet fragments stuck in the bone that keeps causing an infection. And actually, where he was standing was right next to a dresser in the doorway. And when when I shot him, it actually like fragmentized his bones, and there was bone chips stuck in the dresser next to where he was standing. Uh, so it did a lot of damage. They've taken a vein out of his back to makeshift an artery in his knee. They've taken skin grafts to try to patch the massive hole. Uh, Lots of surgeries. Like I said, he's had 30, I think. But we ended up making amends. Not that we were ever on bad terms, but I took a lot of things away from him that day. Like I said, he was very athletic and very good at athletes. If he wouldn't have been a pro, it would have got him into college and stuff like that, for sure. Um, and then I took all that away from him, and that was like his main life, and that sucks. However, we did, end up, getting close again. He was the best man at my wedding, my first marriage, and he was also a groomsman at my second wedding, years later. So we still talk every now and then, but like everybody, you get your own life and family, and it's hard to keep in contact, and that's how it goes. But yeah, man, it was rough. That's about it. There's there's a lot to deal with when you're 14 years old, and you don't have any support system, and then you don't have any authority at the house. A single mom with 3 kids. There's only so much she can do. She's chasing my brother around most of the time. I could slide out and do whatever I want. It got pretty hairy after that, but this is what I would consider the tipping point in my youth that sent me down the wrong path, which would also end up leading to me being in a mental institution. I've been in a padded room before. Uh, Again, not the brightest of the days right there, but if you like this story, there is more. There's a lot more about the probably next 6 or 7 years of my life where I was making some poor choices, and even another time I put a guy in another life flight helicopter, but this time it was malicious, and I was out to do harm, and that actually stopped me from continuing down that path. Once that happened, I kind of cleaned myself up and turned it around. So my life goes downhill and hits rock bottom. Both of them, they bookend with life flights. Something that's not. It's a That's an awful feeling too when you almost kill somebody. You do it twice, no good. So if you like the story, I'm gonna be telling uh, some funnier ones too. So we'll liven it up a little bit. I know that one was a little sad, but you know it is what it is. You got to take it how you get it. But if you liked it, you know what to do.